All right. And so here we are. We're with Katy Brooks, president of the Bend Chamber. We're here to talk a little bit about housing, kids, kid care facilities, the lack thereof, and how it all kind of circles around. And it either is, there's no doubt it's a problem here in Central Oregon.
It sure is. It sure is. And one of the great things I think about being a part of a chamber is we get to really start to unravel some of those underlying issues to the workforce and to businesses being successful. And housing, for sure, is something that is impacting not only families and people, but also the businesses here in Bend, as is childcare. If you can't find a place to take your child, you can't go to work, and that's a problem for you, and it's also a problem for the business who depends on you.
Yeah, and we had started talking about this earlier in the year about the possibility of funding a position for someone who can really kind of wrap their arms around all of this and move forward in the future.
Exactly. We've been working for the last 6 months or so on fundraising to hire a person who's solely dedicated to getting more child care on the ground, and not just any child care, but high quality, and in keeping with the latest information on human brain development and how we want our kids to develop and socialize from the time they're born into grade school. And so what we've done is we've partnered with OSU Cascades, and they are working with Central Oregon Community College on a concept at this point of what if the two organizations, the higher ed entities, got together and put together a curriculum that is based on really solid research of quality childcare and supervise the programming. And then what if we could get employers and philanthropists and landowners and others, developers, to help us actually get the sticks in the ground and build these facilities and replicate them, not just here in Bend, but across the region. That's the concept, and that's what we want to hire this person to do.
Love it. Love it. And so maybe I put that piece in the very front, and I should have put it at the end. But you, as in the chamber and other cities in the region, coming up here in the next couple of days, are going to have a series of meetings. The U.S. Chamber is having somebody to come in to talk with all these people, and again, focusing on childcare.
Right. So the Child Care Accelerator position in this pilot project is one of many, many orchestrated and coordinated efforts. So this isn't just the Bend Chamber. This is a lot of people that have been working really hard on this concept. It's the governor's office and the regional solutions team trying to work with Oregon State regulatory folks to streamline the process so it makes it easier if you want to open a child care center or expand to get through the morass of regulations. The city of Bend has stepped up to the plate, and they're considering a lot of things that will lower some fees or just make it easier to build or expand child care in certain parts of the city. So they're doing their part. There are several nonprofits, the High Desert School District, the Bend Lapine School District, and others who are really collaborating on ensuring that there's high quality, gaining access to funding, and putting the right people around the table to tackle this issue, to make it more cost effective and just simply get more quality child care slots out there as soon as possible.
Yeah. You had, or I should say the Chamber had done a study earlier in the year concerning child care. How did that all play out? How did it fall out?
Yeah, we did do a study, and come to find out a lot of people have done some studies, some in private sector, some in other cities around the region, and it's pretty ubiquitous. It's across the board. About 97% of those that we surveyed, it was about almost 400 folks, I think, something like that, maybe 380, said it's either difficult or very difficult to find childcare. And it affects small businesses more. I think it's in the high 90 percentile of businesses are 50 employees or under. That's devastating. Yeah. If you lose a couple of people and you're a 50 employees or under, that's a big impact on your business. And that's one of the reasons why the U.S. Chamber Foundation, who's coming this week to have this series of meetings with community leaders and some of these teams we put together to talk about how this is not just an Oregon thing. It's not just a Central Oregon thing. It's a national issue. And a woman from the U.S. Chamber Foundation is coming to, she's a policy analyst for education and the workforce, to share some case studies and also to share that the Chamber Foundation selected the state of Oregon this year to do a statewide study on the economic impacts of what it means to have very little child care. Only 1 in 3 kids has a slot in this state under the age of 5. Just think about that. Yeah. And a lot of families choose to stay home. And we're not advocating that everybody goes back to work at all. But we're saying if you want to go back to work, you should be able to, and you should be feeling good about the place you take your kid. Yeah. And so we'll have that survey probably by the beginning of next year. And we'll be able to share some results. And just to share with you, RL, the Chamber Foundation did this survey in Georgia last year. In Atlanta, in that region alone, it was a $1.6 billion impact to their economy. And they found that out from the survey, and we're hoping to find out exactly what it's costing us as well.
Yeah, I love the comment. I was looking into this, and the child care desert.
Yeah.
And I mean, here we are, and that's kind of what it is, because there's not enough facilities to take care of the kids.
That's right. That's exactly right. And there's a lot of correlation between that and the housing issue, too, because the other side of the availability issue is the affordability issue. Yeah. And in the state of Oregon, it's one of the most expensive states in the country for child care. Yeah. It is more expensive to put your child in child care per year than it is to send them to college, to a state college. It's silly, but it is. Yeah. That's the way it is.
If you had 2 kids, it's like a mortgage payment.
I had twins, and I'm telling you, it was not fun. Yeah. It was almost 1.5 times my mortgage.
Wow.
Yes. So wow. I have a lot of empathy for families out there trying to make this work.
Yeah. But it sounds like, and as you said, there's a whole myriad of things that appear to be coming together all at the same time to work on this solution.
Yeah, and that is truly a regional effort, and it's from the private sector. There are lots of businesses who've contributed to this cause and actually shown up at the table saying, I really think this is an important issue for business to be involved in. We've had nonprofits, the school districts, and many, many others in government that each have walked away with a list of things to do. And we meet as a region, and now there are also task forces in each community in the region meeting separately, trying to address it in Prineville and Redmond and Lapine and places like that have unique needs. Because every city's got its own building codes and its own workforce that they're trying to assist.
So coming up here, like we said, this week, these meetings, are they for anybody, or are they for certain people to come to the table and talk?
It's really for folks who have been involved in trying to get through the regulatory process. It's for folks in the business sector who are frustrated and are losing employees. It's the school district folks, community leaders, elected officials. I know a lot of parents are really wanting to weigh in on this issue. We just simply don't have the room for that. Yeah. So they're really work sessions. It's for the groups of folks across the region who have been working on this to come together and say, here's the plan in place. What are the next steps? What can each of us do to accelerate this process and walk away with a game plan?
So, and it says right here, tell me more about the Child Care Task Force and the need for a Child Care Accelerator position in Central Oregon.
Well, this position, as I was saying, is someone who's going to approach developers, architects, work with the 2 higher ed institutions in our region to do a couple of things. Figure out how to make quality childcare pencil out So that means labor, capital, and land, and getting the right people to the table to offset those costs, like pooling employers who want to secure a spot for their employees as these facilities go up, and maybe they can help with startup costs or operational costs. It's tapping into grants, into landowners who might want to help be a part of the solution. It's working with architects who have an idea of designing childcare that fits code requirements and can be easily permitted anywhere across the state. That would be really helpful. So it's these pieces, if you can figure out how to knock down some of the obstacles across the board, it'll make it easier to make more childcare facilities happen. And that's what this accelerator will do. It's funded, about 2/3 of the funding has come from businesses in Central Oregon. And the rest is from Traces, which is a part of the United Way, and other organizations that are really interested in solving this problem.
How soon do you think a person like this might be on board?
We are going to start interviews, hopefully here in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
So if you're interested, Express Pros here in town is actually recruiting for it. And our hope is to have somebody on board by November.
Wow.
We really want to get going. We're about, like I said, 3/4 of the way there, and we're just going on faith that we'll get the rest of the funding. And we just can't wait.
Yeah.
So we're proceeding.
And it was like you said. I mean this was like the pebble that was rolling downhill and got covered by snow and turned into a huge snowball. It just all the stars aligned, and
Yep.
you've been blessed.
Yep, I really have. It's an awesome community in Central Oregon.
Yeah.
It's astounding to me how many people have stepped up and identified this as a problem. It's not an easy one to solve. It's messy, it's complicated, but it's affects us all for any number of reasons. And it's a great place to live,
Yeah,
Arl.
it is.
It's really great.
Yeah. Anything else that you can think of that we may have missed?
I think if anybody has any questions about this, we are planning on sharing all this information with the media that we learn. And we're also going to roll out the economic impact study and release the results. And as we proceed with this, we'll be sharing this information. OSU, COCC, others will be. There'll be lots of details to come. So hopefully we'll have lots to share.
So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
All right. Katy, thank you so much.
Thank you.